Friday. It's Friday here on Brett Breaks Things. Welcome to the show. It's my pleasure to be bringing you the show. It's been a good week. I've enjoyed this week quite a bit. And the topics have been hefty, obviously, with all the stuff with Iran and Israel. But we had some fun too. Trump being maximum Trump impressors, Hegseth, Johnson, the lies. Digging into their lies has been my pleasure. Today is Fact Check Friday. We do have a section of the portion of the show today where we're going to do fact checking of the lies. One of the things I promised to bring you. We're also going to highlight some more injustices as well today. Just a couple things. One, the GoFundMe. I got to keep pushing it. I have no choice. It is my air. It is my glass of water in the desert. I have to have it. If you go to the BrettBreaksThings.com, hit the donate button, help any way you can. And definitely call. It's Friday. I'd love to get a call from any one of you. And I know my mods, they sometimes come through with some calls. Anybody in the chat room, anybody watching live, give me a call. 561-270-3844. I'm going to pop the number up. 561-270-3844. Give me a call. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's Friday. Let's do it. Let's get into it. We are going to be off the 4th of July next week. That's Friday next week. We're going to be off for that show. Just a heads up now. And of course, I'll remind you as we go forward. And I just want to put on your radar, there's been a number of Supreme Court decisions that we're going to dig into. We know they are happening in real time, and we're going to dig it right into them next week. So keep aware of that. First, though, I'm not going to go long into this because it's really just a lead up into some other stuff. But Zoran Mamdani has become Slender Man. He's become the boogeyman. He's Jason Voorhees. He's Ghostface. He is the worst nightmare, apparently, of a lot of people on the right. I mean, they are scared of this dude, and they are sounding off. And I've seen some interviews talking about him. Fox News has absolutely lost their mind over this guy. It's really entertaining to watch the complete meltdown. And of course, Trump, in true Trumpian fashion, he's got to get out in front of everybody on this Mamdani thing. And he had a post. Tweet. No, this is from Truth Social. I'm sorry. This is a Truth Social post. This is about Mamdani, okay? It's finally happened. Now, Mamdani is the Democratic nominee for mayor. Mayoral election in New York City is going to be later this year. Just in case you didn't get that memo, didn't hear the story, Zoran Mamdani is the Democratic candidate for mayor in New York. All right, he just won the candidacy for the Democratic Party. Here we go. It's finally happened. The Democrats have crossed the line. Zoran Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic. I didn't expect to have problems getting through this. I read it pre-show, and I'm like, okay, there's the bull crap. But now that I'm getting back in, I'm sorry. Let me compose myself. Zoran Mamdani, the 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Dem primary and is on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous. Trump being the foremost authority on what's ridiculous. He looks terrible. His voice is grating, and he's not very smart. So if that's what Trump's saying, that means he is good looking, has a great voice, and is intelligent. Okay, that's how you should interpret that. Whatever he says, it's the opposite. He's terrible. He looks terrible. His voice is grating. He's not very smart. He's got AOC +3 dummies all backing him. And even our great Palestinian senator, crying Chuck Schumer. There's the nicknames. That's the first one. He may have used it, but thank you. I hope this is a trend. Keep him rolling, Don. Crying Chuck Schumer is groveling over him. Yes, this is a big moment in the history of our country. Mamdani, he actually responded to the post. I'm already taking too much time on this. I'm going to keep it moving. He already responded to the post on ABC.
President Trump just weighed in and called you a communist lunatic. What do you say to that?
You know, this is not the first time that President Trump is going to comment on myself.
The next mayor of New York City will have to work with the Trump administration Are you willing to do that? Will you do that?
I will work with the Trump administration when it is to the benefit of New Yorkers. My approach will never be reflexive, whether in agreement or opposition, but if it comes at the expense of the New Yorkers that I'm running to serve, then no, I will not be working with the administration on harming the people that I look to represent.
All right. Why are they so afraid of this guy? Why are they so afraid of this guy? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of the policies that he touted during his campaign. And I'm not his campaign, manager. I'm not out here running ads for this guy. As far as you don't know if I support him or not. I didn't say anything about it, one way or another. I'll let you decide how you feel about these campaign points. He wants a rent freeze on stabilized units, okay? So approximately 1 million rent-stabilized apartments is what he's looking to do, so rent can't continue to go up and up and up on these people whose wages aren't going up and up and up. Okay, that's one. 200,000 new affordable housing units. Horrible. Personal experience. He has personal experience as a foreclosure prevention housing counselor in New York. That's why this particular issue is so close to his heart. Fare-free buses. How dare you? Improved subway services. He wants to spend about $100 million out of the state budget to improve the subway service. Horrible. And he himself uses the subway, by the way. You can say what you want about that particular piece. Say, it's just a bite for whatever. Look, he says he uses the subway. He's been seen using the subway. He uses the subway. I don't know. Food insecurity solution. He wants to establish more grocery stores in grocery store desert areas. They call them desert areas because there's many blocks of low rent housing in New York that are not blocks away from the nearest Whole Foods or whatever the prominent, grocery outlet may be. There's huge gaps. So they are forced to go to bodegas and small shops on the corner to get higher priced groceries that may not be high quality and a lot of processed stuff. They have no choice. They can't get there. They don't have money for buses or taxis. They don't have cars themselves. So he wants to put groceries in these desert areas. What else? Universal access to free citywide childcare. How dare you? An anti-inflation strategy. He wants to have the minimum wage in New York by the end of the decade raised to $30 minimum wage. How dare you try to pay us more? He wants a corporate tax increase. He wants a millionaire tax. All of these could end up add up to about $10 billion in revenue. Mussolini, how dare you? We see you. We see what you're trying to do, Stalin. We see what you're trying to do. So I bring that up to show you this. On CNBC, Elizabeth Warren was asked about this, and she did a beautiful pivot because she knows that Zoran Mamdani's, the optics on his campaign or whether you support him or not is not really what's at stake here in the country as in large, right? That's not really what's crucial to be talking about. And she just does a pivot on him, and I just loved this sounder.
He's a socialist. He's a self-avowed socialist. Do you think socialism is the correct path to do what you just said you wanted to do for working Americans?
We need markets with rules. Markets without rules are just theft. And that's part of why we need strong antitrust enforcement. But what our new mayor, I hope will be mayor-elect in New York City, is talking about is how to make that economy work for families. Where is your outrage over a Republican Party that is saying, we want to fund even more tax giveaways to billionaires. We want to make sure that Meta gets a check, if this bill passes, for $15 billion, not for anything they do in the future, but for investments they made 3 years ago. We want to give them a check for $15 billion while we take away health care from everyone else, while we drive up utility costs for everyone else. That's not how we build a strong economy. You believe in markets, then you should believe in participation by the employees so that they get some of the wealth that they help create. And part of that means that through government, we create opportunities, not just for the billionaires, to be able to come in and help build these buildings, but also to the workers who have.
All right, so she took his oh my God, a socialist rhetoric, and she turned it right around on him. And she starts referencing what's in the big, beautiful bill, the big, ugly ass bill. And that has been obviously a huge topic. And as we get closer and closer to Trump's deadline of a July 4th vote in the Senate, that is becoming a farther and farther away possibility. It's just becoming more and more less likely. We've got sounders from Republican senators and Republican reps talking about they can't vote for it. They won't vote for it. They don't think it has the votes. We're going to get all to that, Sounder. But first, we're going to get a little bit into just a little bit of the backlash on, let's see. Okay, nope, that's right. So we have the big, beautiful bill. We're talking about the big, beautiful bill. We got a little stuff about Iran later. There was a Senate hearing, a briefing in the Senate that I almost got confused with for just a second. So we're still talking about the big, beautiful bill. Karoline Leavitt, she had got asked a question in a briefer, in a press briefer. Yeah, she's just doubling down on, the fears attached to the cuts in Medicaid. The talking point is very clear. It's been very clear for a while now. When faced with questions about the cuts to Medicaid, you have a stock answer you are to give.
There's conversations on the Hill right now about the Medicaid cuts. I'm curious if the final bill that the president's been talking about comes to him and it has Medicaid cuts in it, will he sign it, or would he rather just Congress do away with those cuts?
I think our friends in both the Senate and the House know exactly where the president stands on Medicaid. He wants to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse, and they are working to do that in the Senate right now.
Waste, fraud, and abuse. Waste, fraud, and abuse. Over and over and over and over and over again. But the reality is, from just the Medicaid cuts alone, around 8 million people will be off of their health insurance. Okay, that's the reality. 7.8, whatever the number is, and we'll get into that. That is the reality of it. But they will continue to tell you waste, fraud, and abuse. When you ask your Republican representatives, or you pose questions about this administration's decision-making in terms of Medicaid, that is the answer you will get. So it is up to you. It is up to the voters, especially voters in red states right now. It is up to you. Are you going to hold them responsible for this explanation when your grandmother is off her health care? When your disabled cousin or aunt is off their health care? When they no longer have assistance or coverage? Is waste, fraud, and abuse going to be okay with you? Or are you going to hold them accountable for lying to you and doing this to you? That's where we're at. They will no longer explain any of it. They will not. They are unwilling to explain their actions. They are unwilling to make it make sense for you. That is what they're going to give you. You take that talking point, waste, fraud, and abuse, you take it with you to your polling place in the midterms. And have your vote be predicated on how you feel about that being the excuse for kicking grandma off her health care. Waste, fraud, and abuse. Over and over again. That's all you're getting.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Now back to Brett Breaks Things, smashing spin, silencing the noise, and keeping it all facts, no fluff.
Have you given the White House a way to earn your vote?
Oh, you're talking about the big, not yet beautiful bill. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, we've been talking about that. So, no, I've talked to the president several times about it, and I've said, yes, I support the tax cuts. I voted for them in 2017. I would like to make the tax cuts permanent. I'm for spending cuts. Right now, I think they're wimpy and anemic. But even wimpy and anemic, I would tolerate because that's where the caucus is. But the one thing I can't vote for is to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion. And so I've told him that if they create a separate vote, if they need my vote, if there are 49 votes, he can get my vote and I'll vote for it in a heartbeat, enthusiastically, if they just separate the debt ceiling into another vote. The reason I can't vote to increase the credit line or the line of credit for Congress is Congress is not shown to be very good with money. In fact, I would compare Congress to a reckless teenager. You give a 16-year-old a credit card, they run up $2,000 worth of debt, they're at their debt limit. What do? They come to mom and dad and say, oh, please give us a $10,000 line of credit. No parent in their right mind would do that. But it's the same way with Congress. Congress is a bunch of reckless teenagers with a terrible history of accumulating nearly $37 trillion in debt, $2 trillion a year, $1 trillion in interest now. You'd be a fool to expand these people's line of credit. And so we'll see. Right now, I don't think they need my vote. They're not acting like they need it.
There it is.
So there hasn't been a willingness on their side to negotiate.
Yes, we scour Truth Social. We watch One American News. We watch Newsmax. We watch Fox to bring you these pieces. Our ears and our eyes are bleeding on a daily basis. We do this so you don't have to. Do not give them your viewership. We'll bring you what you need to know. I promise you. And by the way, that was Matt Gaetz. He's got a spot there as a talking head on One American News. What is happening with Matt Gaetz? He looks like an alien is wearing a Matt Gaetz suit. Kind of like in Men in Black, the Edgar suit. What is going on with Gaetz? I feel like his model has been recalled and they've got a replacement model that they stuck on One American News. All right. Now, Rand Paul is being very glib about, they don't need my vote. They're acting like they don't need my vote. It's a slim majority. It is a majority in the Senate, but it is slim. And they need all the damn votes. And if there's anybody that echoes the sentiments of Rand Paul, just 2 or 3 more, they may have problems passing this for at least a while, for at least a little while. Again, I told you that I firmly believe that this will go through the Senate and then back through the House mainly intact, with the very important points intact, which are the historic tax cuts to the wealthy and the corporations, and the massive cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, VA, LIHEAP, FEMA, Department of Education. All of these, Noah, all of these will be intact. All of these will be intact. Okay. So Paul's a no right now. It's one. And we'll see if that sticks. A few different senators, reps have had things to say about this. We've got a new round of how they feel about this. This is Chris Murphy I'm going to play right now. And Chris Murphy, man, pretty likable. He seems really professional. He talks about what matters. He stays away from the talking points, and he kind of hits you with the truth in the face. I like Chris Murphy. How much do I like him? Am I going to talk about him as a possible nominee? I don't know. I like Buttigieg. I like J.B. Pritzker. I like John Ossoff. I like Chris Murphy like I like those guys. Let's just leave it at that. Let's hear from Chris.
Yes, Trump and the Republicans are trying to engineer the most massive transfer of wealth from the poor and the middle class to the wealthy in the history of the country. 16 million people, throw them off their health care so that the richest families can get a new big tax breaks and corporations can pay the lowest tax rate in modern history. That's super unpopular. As you said, only 30% of the country likes it, and every single day that number gets lower. So how do you pass that agenda? You can only pass that agenda if you also destroy democracy, if you also destroy the means of accountability so that you can hide the truth from the American public, so that it's less likely that your opposition can win or to engage in protest. So it's all part of the same story. If you want to convert American democracy to an oligarchy in which only a handful of elites make the decisions for the rest of us, then you also have to destroy democracy together. I think the American people are beginning to see the full picture here. Millions of people out in the streets over the course of that No Kings weekend, and I think those numbers will continue to get bigger and bigger. I have faith that we'll save this democracy, and maybe we'll stop some of their most hurtful legislation like this budget bill along the way.
I mean, honestly, he's going macro, right? We're trying to save democracy out here. We're trying to save democracy, prevent an oligarchy. That's what he should be talking about, especially in terms of the big ugly ass bill and the gigantic transfer of wealth from the lower middle classes up to the upper class. Another one. Another gigantic transfer of wealth up to the upper class. That's what oligarchy's all about. So that's what he should be talking about right there. Tom Tillis. He had something to say. Let's hear from Tillis.
I think that the Medicaid cuts are directionally right, but I think very difficult for the states to absorb. And we've just got to figure out a way to achieve what we're trying to do, bend the curve.
But right now, this could have a big negative impact on North Carolina.
Well,
the Medicaid
so. I think current estimates are about $38 billion over 10 years. That's a big impact.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody believes that the current text is final, so I don't believe anybody would vote for it in its current form. We've got a lot of things that we're working on.
But there is so little time in order to get this bill through the United States Senate. The Senate majority leader wants this on the floor within the next couple of days, by Friday, it sounds like at the moment. But to alleviate those concerns, that means that it could alienate some folks on the right flank of the Republican conference. And finding that delicate balance has been so challenging for Republican leaders, because even if it does pass the Senate, then they got to get through the House, where they have similar issues over there and different issues that have come up as well. All as Donald Trump is demanding members to fall in line, and that's what Republican leaders are banking. They think these members will rather fold and get behind what Donald Trump wants rather than stand up to him and endure his wrath.
Okay, two things about that. One, that is Republican Senator Tom Tillis telling you, we do not have the votes right now. We don't have them. Okay, that's Republican Senator Tillis telling you that. And two, he's talking about we don't have the votes. Then the reporting that they're going to try to push this through the Senate. They have suspended a vote in the Senate for today. There was supposed to be a vote in the Senate today. It has just been canceled, just now. As we're playing this video, I'm getting this news. Why? Because of Republican dissension. They cannot come to an agreement. Tillis, you told us the truth. Nobody will vote for this right now. It appears that's what they found out before the vote, that nobody's going to vote for it. And so they have canceled the vote. And that makes the July 4th deadline to get back to the House look like even less likely now. Just like that, even less likely. Okay, so Trump had a big old event. This is right after he's tried to rally his party, get everybody on messaging, act like there's big momentum for this thing. He just had this huge event. We've got clips from this event, and this is where the Fact Check Friday comes in.
And we're going to also cut costs. We're cutting $1.7 trillion in this bill, and you're not going to feel any of it. And your Medicaid is left alone. It's left the same. Your Medicare and your Social Security are strengthened. We're not cutting. The Democrats are going to destroy all three of them because it's not sustainable. They'll end up cutting your Medicare, Medicaid in half.
Okay, one, and I'm going to just rapid fire. I'm going to match your energy, Trump. You're going to rapid fire lie. I'm going to rapid fire fact check you. One, we're cutting $1.7 trillion in this bill, and you're not going to feel any of it. Actually, from your own numbers, the cuts that you're talking about, it's $1.3 trillion, and those cuts are coming from Medicaid and food programs, mostly. But if you want to talk cuts, the cuts to the corporate tax rate is actually going to cost us $2.4 trillion over the next decade, those specifically. So while you talk about 1.7, which is a wrong number, in cuts, that's false, and it's actually, in the end, going to add $2.4 trillion because of your tax cuts to the wealthy. And your Medicaid is going to be left alone? No, that's not true. You already know that. We've detailed that ad nauseum. Medicaid's going to have $626 billion cut from it over the next 10 years. Approximately 7.8 people are going to lose their health insurance. That is a change. You're a liar. Let's play the next one.
And we will deliver no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors.
That is, at best, a half-truth. If I want to hold him totally to the fire, it's a lie. At no point... Okay, so let me be fair. The bill that passed the House did have an elimination of federal income tax on tips. But by the time it got to the Senate, that language had already been changed. That had been completely eliminated, and now it is a deduction up to $25,000. So we're going to be fair. Although he's lying about no tax on, it's a deduction of $25,000. Same thing with no tax on overtime. Exact same scenario. When it passed through the House, there was language in there, no tax on overtime. By the time it got to the Senate, where it is right now, it is a deduction. You can double it if you're married. It's a deduction, not an elimination. So you are a liar, but at least there's a nugget of truth in there. Better than he usually does.
And people said, what a great idea. It's so simple. It's like the paperclip. Somebody came up with the idea of a paperclip many years ago, 1817, and he became a very rich person. And everybody looked at it and said, why the hell didn't I think of that?
Okay. So now he's lying about the invention of the paperclip. I don't know what it would have cost you, Don, if you were going to bring up the paperclip. How much time and effort would it have cost you to just get it right? You gotta lie about paperclips too? You just have to lie and be wrong about everything? Fine. You want me to fact check your paperclips garbage? I'll fact check it. Invention of the paperclip. The first iteration of the paperclip was not invented in 1817. The first iteration of it was in 1867 by a gentleman named Samuel B. Frey. But the modernized version of the paperclip, which is referred to as the gem paperclip, that was invented in 1901 by a production company, by a British manufacturing company, okay, in 1901, and they didn't even patent it. So not only are you wrong about who invented it and when it was invented, neither Samuel B. Frey or the company that invented the modern iteration made any money. Frey made none. And the company that actually made the paperclip, the modern one, they didn't patent it and made no money off of it. Lie, lie. Why? The hell's the point? Why are you lying about that? I just don't get it. I don't get it. Unless, of course, it's more, stream of consciousness riffing. Had no intention, or the paperclip wasn't even in his mind when he took the stage, but by the time he got through 20 minutes of his bull crap, his mind had completely wandered in the delusional, deranged, lack of faculties way that he does, and it just kind of wandered into the land of paperclips.
No, that's definitely what happened, Brett. I actually watched the whole the whole damn thing live, and the only difference was it wasn't like 20, 30 minutes in. It was like right from the beginning. His stream of consciousness was gone. In fact, he was making jokes about how he was going off script, and he thought he was so clever.
Oh, God. So so we're just bleep it. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. Breaking politics. You're back with Brett Breaks Things, where the truth hits harder than the headlines.
All right. Okay. Moving on. There was a Senate briefing, an intelligence briefing on the bombing of the 3 nuclear facilities in Iran. Okay, so the Senate has been completely briefed. The briefing was led by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane. Dan Kane, you may remember him from screwing up the narrative twice and having to be saved by Pete Hegseth yesterday. We played that clip. I mean, these military guys, they just don't get on messaging like they should, right? So many generals bowing out of Trump's administration last time around, and now Kane, who's even a willing supplicant, just not getting it right. These generals are too analytic. Stop telling the truth all the time, General Kane. Get on brand, bud. Anyway, so they held a briefing for the Senate. Afterwards, there was, comments on both sides. But in terms of the Republican messaging, it may have shifted a little bit. I'm going to get to that in a second. First, let's hear from Karoline Leavitt. She had something to say after the briefing.
So the Ayatollah Khomeini came out and said that Iran will, quote, never surrender to the U.S. That being said, what remains to do with the possible responses from Iranian proxies in the region and even in the U.S.?
Look, we saw the Ayatollah's video, and when you have a totalitarian regime, you have to save face. I think any common sense, open-minded person knows the truth about the precision strikes on Saturday night. They were wildly successful, and it's what led to the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Iran, which the president is very grateful for. And the United States of America remains prepared to defend our assets and our personnel in the region. And again, I would just emphasize the success of the strike that took place on Saturday night in the world is.
Well, Karoline, you would certainly know about totalitarian regimes having to save face. You would know about that. That is what your job is to try to save face in the regarding all of the authoritarian, totalitarian actions that this administration takes. You would definitely know about saving face. You would definitely know about that. I keep rejecting this notion that it would take common sense and an open mind to understand the damage that was done here. Open-mindedness and common sense do not serve you in a battle damage assessment. Okay? Military intelligence, military expertise, that serves you, right? Intelligence reports from the region, knowing the capabilities of these strikes, the payload, the damage they do, those are things that would help you to assess what happened here. You're saying common sense and an open mind? You mean have an open mind to you and your dear leader's lies. That's where you want the open-mindedness to come in. Why can't you just open your mind left and just get on board with we're telling you the truth? Obliterated. Just open your mind a little bit. It's common sense. I don't even know why she's out there, to be honest with you, because she just tells the lies that Trump tells. I mean, press secretaries usually, like I said, save face, right? All administrations have a press secretary that's trying to save face. They're trying to spin the message a little bit, trying to frame the actions of the administration in a way that's more palatable to the American people, right? That's not what Karoline Leavitt does. She just goes out there and tells the lies that Trump tells. That's all she does. I don't even know why she goes out there. We're going to hear from Chris Murphy again. I like him. I like what he has to say. He had something to say after he came out of this briefing.
Talk about anything from the briefing. And I walk away from that briefing still under the belief that we have not obliterated the program. The president was deliberately misleading the public when he said the program was obliterated. It is certain that there is still significant capability and significant equipment that remain.
So, I mean, he came out and just told you flat out, I got the briefing. I don't believe what we've been told. I don't believe that they have been obliterated. I don't believe the extent of the damage that we have been told. Sorry, not convinced. I mean, it's not a shocking take from Chris Murphy, but again, I trust him more than I trust the administration. I mean, if you want it point blank. Tom Cotton, Republican Tom Cotton, he had something to say.
Do you have some sense of where the enriched uranium is at this point? Has the intelligence community figured that out at this point?
I don't have a comment on that. I will say it was not part of the mission to destroy all their enriched uranium or to seize it or anything else.
So this is the narrative change we talked about, and I swear it's like the Republican Party, our Republicans in Congress have become a janitorial staff. All they do is come out and clean up after Trump because they're much more intelligent than Trump, and they've been dealing with the media in this arena longer than Trump and more effectively than Trump. They have to go out in front of cameras and have to clean up Trump's mess. They are nothing more than a janitorial staff at this point with a vote. And we know where all their votes always go. So here comes, Cotton out here from Arkansas, Republican, to clean up the mess, right? So he's trying to get out in front of, look, the enriched uranium was never the mission. Acknowledging, yeah, we didn't get it. Acknowledging, yeah, it's still out there. Okay? So he's acknowledging it and getting in front of it saying, look, it's still mission successful because the uranium was never the mission. No, that's actually misleading, Tom. The mission was to disable Iran's nuclear program. That was the mission. That was the mission we were told was a success. And now we've got senators coming out of this hearing saying maybe it wasn't quite the success that our dear leader had told us it was. And now they're getting in front of the messaging. Also getting in front of the messaging, Lindsey. Lindsey always gets the message. He's always on assignment, Lindsey. He's been doing this a long time. He knows how to do this. I personally think he's 3 sheets to the wind during this little stop and chat. You decide for yourself. I don't like to level that, willy-nilly, but his mannerisms very weird. He just has a weird look on his face, and his motions are weird. You make the decision yourself, but he's on message. He's on message.
Here's where we're at. The program was obliterated at those 3 sites, but they still have ambitions. I don't know where the 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium exists, but it wasn't part of the target set.
Are you concerned that in light of that several years, when the administration is saying this is obliterated, it suggests that they're not able to build a weapon. But you're saying in several years, perhaps they'll be able to. Isn't there
that's what I'm saying. They're obliterated today, but you can reconstitute. I don't want people to think that the site wasn't severely damaged or obliterated. It was. But having said that, I don't want people to think the problem is over, because it's not.
Really, Lindsey? The problem's not over then. So, mission not success? Is that what you're telling me? Republican John Hoeven from North Dakota. We heard from him.
My impression coming out is similar to my impression going in. And you can look at the CIA report, which Director Radcliffe talked about. And it's their report, and they stand behind it. It's been released publicly that they're saying a year, 2 years in terms of the damage inflicted and the time that would take to recover. The other point that was made, and I think this is a very important point, we just demonstrated that we can take out their sites between what Israel did in the United States, our strike, we can take out the setup they have now. Would you really recreate the exact same thing? You have to think about it pretty long and hard. Furthermore, they're scientists, they're generals. That's been set back. They don't have that leadership or the scientific knowledge. All those things make it very hard to recreate what they have had. And would you do that going forward when you know you can take it out again? That leads us to exactly what you're bringing up. That's why, for the first time, it really appears that maybe you could actually have a negotiation with Iran. They have never lived up to that. So any negotiation with Iran, you've got to have, it's got to be verified. How do you do that? Well, they're pretty much defenseless right now. So if they were ever going to have a legitimate negotiation, one that we could hold them accountable to, that's the opportunity now. And that's really the focus going forward. And so we'll see. When it comes to Iran,
okay, so John Hoeven is squirming and wiggling around the issue, but I do agree with what he said at the end there. If there's going to be a time to negotiate with Iran, it'd be right now, Mr. Art of the Deal, Mr. Dealmaker, Mr. Great Businessman. Go ahead and put those skills to use now. I dispute that they exist, but you tell us you're the deal master of the deal. You're Mr. Art of the Deal. Go do something now. I do agree with him, whether it's 2 months, 2 years, or a decade from now when Iran resumes its nuclear program. Right now, is the time to make a deal. They are wounded. Their program has at least been set back. I don't think anybody on any side of the aisle would disagree with that. So now's the time to make a deal. But what he said there was interesting to me. Would they do it the same? Right? They just got blown to hell. All their facilities got destroyed. Would they do it the same? Would they rebuild the same? I submit that necessity is the mother of invention, right? No, they wouldn't do it the same. They'd do it in a manner that would lead to less likely to lead to this outcome, right? The next time they do it, with the Russians' help, they'll do it more effectively, more efficiently, and in a way that is less susceptible to a U.S. bombing. I think that's the way they'd do it. So the briefing wasn't exactly conclusive or convincing to anyone. Yuki, what's going on?
Hey, I told you this would happen.
Yeah, you did. Well, you also called World War III, and we stopped short of that.
No, but we're not done. You got to remember, all we did is sort of like what George Bush did. He had all the intel from Clinton in front of him. He wanted a war. He wanted to go finish Daddy's job. Trump, on the other hand, had a mega bill. That mega bill means everything to him. Mm-hmm. It means making the rich the ultra rich.
Yeah.
He could have distracted the American people, okay, and really, really bombed the hell out of them. not just the nuclear plant, but really, really disabled them. And he didn't. He held them up a couple of months. But he needed that distraction so the American people would say, well, what's going on? Mega bill? No, we're bombing Iran. He wanted to distract the American people.
You know what's funny about that, Yuki, is he failed on both points. He's a coward, and he pulled up short of doing actual damage to this nuclear program or Iran's ability to make war or fund their proxies. He failed there. He pulled up short, scared of Republican backlash, scared of the optics, scared of the American First Party. And he has failed into the distraction because now the optics on this bombing are starting to fade out of the news cycle a little bit, and now they don't even have a vote in the Senate. Now the July 4th date is pushed. So now we have time as the American public to refocus our attention on how we're getting screwed in this big, ugly-ass bill. He has failed on both ends of that, Yuki.
And you have to remember something else. His intelligence, he's not getting true intelligence anymore because they can't tell him anything because he's an idiot. He runs his mouth on TV. So he's pretty much telling everybody what his next move is. He's got a big mouth, and nobody wants to tell him anything because it's like, no, it's not going to remain a secret if you go to the White House.
100%, Yuki.
You can't. you know they're all scared. They're all bailing. They're jumping ship.
Nope, you're 100%, Yuki. I appreciate you calling in, and you know Yuki's right about that because the last time intelligence shared anything with him, he started talking about, well, we're going to bomb this plant, and this plant. What'd they do? They moved the uranium. He can't keep his mouth shut. He can't keep a secret. He is a liability to our intelligence apparatus. He is a liability to the defense of this nation and its interests. He's a liability. You can't tell him anything. And as far as the leaks go, again, I hope it's Lil Marco. I hope it's Lil Marco leaking that stuff. Just a little shot in the back, little stiletto between the ribs by Lil Marco. He's just the right size to sneak in and get you right in the ribs, Don.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Brett breaks things because someone has to.
Okay. All right. You know what? I want to show this. So I know Sky's gonna get pissed at me, but I want to show this just before we get into the next part. This is what you get when you go against Trump's edict. All right. We have known that the decision that Republican representatives are faced with right now is either represent your constituents and their best interest, or represent Trump's authoritarian regime. One of the two. You can't do them both. Period. You can't do them both. And if you decide to represent your constituents, they're going to spend Republican money against you, primarying you, hurting your campaign, hurting your chances to continue to represent in this government. And this is what it looks like. Remember Tom Massie? All the videos I showed you of him trying to tell the truth about this bombing and military action in Iran? Remember him? Okay.
What happened to Thomas Massie? President Trump is banning sex changes on minors. Massie voted against it. President Trump is cutting taxes and saving Kentucky families $10,000. Massie voted against it. President Trump is securing our border and deporting criminal aliens. Massie voted against Trump again. And after Trump obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program, Massie sided with Democrats and the Ayatollah. Let's fire Thomas Massie. MAGA Kentucky is responsible for the content of this advertising.
He sided with Democrats and the Ayatollah. Holy crap. He sided with the Ayatollah? Get him out of here. What the hell? That's awesome. That's awesome. That is the reverse of the Lincoln Project ads I show you all the time. It's like the reverse.
Brett, I really do appreciate, Massie standing up, but I personally just say, screw it, let them fight it out. Let them all fight it out. Take each other out. Have fun.
I love it. I love it. Let them eat themselves. I completely agree with you, Scott. Let them fight it out. Slap fight on TV. I mean, that's a lot of fun.
Trump would be a great promoter for that stuff, man. Just, put it on pay-per-view or whatever. And
he would gladly take the Don King role of all the fights amongst the Republicans. He really would. Maybe we can get a new celebrity death match going. Yeah. So that's what you're facing, Republicans. If you can stand that, if you can weather that storm, maybe you can start representing your constituents again and doing what's best for the people in your states and your counties and your districts. Maybe. We'll see. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to switch gears to the injustices, right? Right? Fact check the lies, debunk the BS. We did some of that. Now we're going to highlight injustice. I have a chance to reintroduce some of the newer, fresher incidents with ICE and the deportation policy of Donald Trump right now. And it's starting to come to a head. I mean, the dude is really starting to lose on multiple fronts. And it's funny because if you voted for Trump, what you bought with your vote is starting to become clear. Grandma's going to get kicked off Medicaid. All right. We're going to get in foreign conflicts and wars. He's going to use the office to enrich himself and his family, right? And he's going to give gigantic tax cuts to the wealthy, widening the wealth gap once again, the only thing Republicans actually ever get done when they get in office. You bought all that with your vote. But what else did you buy with your vote? A tough immigration policy. And that's going to have to sustain you. That's going to have to sustain you over the next 3 years. We'll see what happens in the midterm. So is the payoff, is the juice worth the squeeze for you? Well, the numbers are coming out on that. The numbers are starting to come out on, does America feel the juice is worth the squeeze?
I think we can say that Donald Trump has lost the political battle when it comes to what has happened out in Los Angeles. Donald Trump's net approval rating on the Los Angeles protest, look at this, overall, way underwater at minus 15 points. How about among independents or those who don't identify with either major party? Way even lower. Look at that, minus 24 points on the net approval rating. And of course, this is happening on what should be one of Donald Trump's, in fact, the best issue for Donald Trump, immigration. And yet, when it comes to these Los Angeles protests, 15 points underwater overall and 24 points underwater among independents. No good.
What is the broader view of how Trump is acting and what he's doing when it comes to these arrests of immigrants?
Right. So, you see these numbers with concern to the Los Angeles protests, but let's widen it out a little bit. And I think this sort of paints a picture for you in understanding why Donald Trump's net approval rating on the Los Angeles protests are as low as they are. Take a look. Trump and immigrant arrests. He's gone too far. That's the winner here, 49%. Not too far, only 40%. So you got a 9-point lead here. And again, among those independents or other category, you see 51% of them say Trump's gone too far. And what's so important to note is that this poll was taken after the Los Angeles protests started. So this takes into account everything that's gone on in Los Angeles. At this particular point, if the protesters' idea was to focus the attention on Donald Trump and bring attention to his immigration policies and bring attention to the arrests that have been occurring of immigrants, it seems to me that those protests have been successful.
What about the third category? What about he ain't gone far enough? I'd love to see the numbers on that. Yeah, it is he ain't gone far enough. I need more headlocks, more beatings. I mean, just ditch those rubber bullets, get some real ammo, get some uranium-depleted rounds in them things. Yeah, let's go old school and get the water hoses back out in the Dobermans. I would like to see what the not far enough numbers are, but so he's losing on this issue, okay? And 50% of people polled, and that independence number, man, keep an eye. I did the polls earlier in the week or last week. I did that polling, the new polls, the Quinnipiac polls had come out. And I said, look, don't worry about the Republican and Democrat polls. The polling that represents Republicans or it's the independents. That's the polling you got to pay attention to, right? Those are the people that especially make an impact in the midterms. Why is it so unpopular? Why does 49% of those polled say he's gone too far? Well, I'm going to bring you too far. I'm going to show you too far. Multiple cases of too far. Let's check it out. That's I don't have video on this. This is a man being beaten, if you couldn't tell. All right. Pinned down, rabbit punches to the back of his head. That gentleman's name is Narisco Barranco, a 48-year-old undocumented landscaper from Mexico in the U.S. since the 1990s. He has 3 sons. Every one of them is a U.S. Marine. Let that sink in, right? You still good? You still on board? Those of you on the right, you still on board with that? His one son, Alejandro Barranco, is a Marine Corps veteran, and Emmanuel and Jose Luis are active duty Marines at Camp Pendleton. Okay, so that was Narisco's contribution to the American dream, contribution to Americana. This undocumented immigrant has contributed 3 Marines, and that was his reward. And why did they beat the crap out of him? Right there in the middle of a street, true Gestapo style? I'm going to show you why. They claimed he attacked them. You make the decision. It's a short video, so pay attention. That is him running with a weed whacker away from ICE. They said he attacked him. From all reports, with eyewitness reports, he ran past them, didn't approach any of them or even head in their direction, had his weed whacker, which he could not afford to leave at the scene should he get away, and took it with him, ran away from them with a weed whacker, and got the crap beat out of him in the middle of the street. Thanks for your 3 sons in the Marines, Mr. Barranco. Here's a beating. This one I want to show you. This one does have audio. I'm essentially going to show you a home invasion.
Anyone? You don't have to show you an arrest.
To enter a home, you have to show a warrant.
Who's the wife? Who's the wife?
Nobody's the wife, and why would you say which one of y'all's the wife?
All right. Do y'all want him to go to jail, or do y'all want to talk?
We want to see the warrant. We want to see the warrant. Where's
the wife? Okay. All right, never mind.
No firme nada si no quiere. No tiene que hablar ni decir nada. Y'all don't have to slam the door. This isn't your property. This isn't your property to be slamming doors.
And then we go get you.
I'm underage. Doesn't matter. She didn't say anything to you. She didn't say anything to you. She didn't. Why you put her?
Okay, now I played that whole thing because 2 things happened there that you need to be aware of. 1, they entered that home without a warrant. They just pulled up, went in, and closed the door. 2, when they had heard enough, when those ICE agents had decided they had heard enough, they emerged from that door and began accosting bystanders, people they were not there to collect. They did not have a warrant for those people. There was no standing order that they had missed a court date or had a review get dismissed or were undocumented roaming around. No, they were there to protest what was happening in front of their eyes, and they get snatched up as well, because that is becoming a common theme. If you get in our way in any way, shape, or form, you get in our way, we'll snatch you up too. We will detain you too. We will put our hands on you too. And that theme continues. It continues. Check this out.
Social media videos captured a dramatic scene unfolding in the Walmart parking lot in Pico Rivera, where outraged community members confronted federal agents.
Hey, you forgot to cover your face.
Suddenly, an unmarked truck pulled up. Men armed with AR-15s jumped out and moved in to take control of the situation.
It's like we are in a war zone in our own communities, bringing out rifles. I mean, we are your everyday civilians. You know, those weapons, they're weapons of war.
Here's what happened just before everything exploded. 2 Border Patrol trucks pulled into the parking lot. This man suddenly took off running. So did this maintenance worker. That's when 20-year-old Adrian Andrew Martinez saw what was happening and drove his car toward the ICE agents' vehicles. His mother, Mayra Villarreal, spoke with Fox 11 News.
In the video, it shows that, he was trying to help. He was telling them, leave him alone. He's just working. And I guess they didn't like that.
In the video, you see Martinez roll a trash bin in front of the Border Patrol truck. There's a brief exchange, then agents rush in and take him down. Martinez can be seen resisting.
Now they're saying that he attacked them. So they want to press charges.
Okay. That is Adrian Martinez. He came out in defense of his coworker there at the Walmart. You saw them running for their freedom. I know MAGA loves that video. No doubt that. But that is Martinez coming out to defend them. He gets snatched up too. He is a U.S. citizen. But they're coming for you too, homegrowns. They're coming for you too.
I had a really good time today.
Yeah, me too. I really look.
What are you doing?
She's coming with us.
What are you talking about? Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're rounding up illegals.
She was born here. She's a citizen.
I don't care. She looks like one of them. But don't worry. When she's in prison in El Salvador, she'll have lots of company.
They're coming for you. You want to stand up for somebody's rights? You're detained. U.S. citizen, detained. You're in your own home? We'll bust in the door and we'll detain you. It is the Gestapo tactics, plain and simple. I don't care what side of the aisle you are. I don't care how you voted. There is no other way to interpret what we are seeing. There's no other way to interpret it. I had more. The examples are near endless at this point. You good with that guy who gave us 3 Marines getting kicked out? You good with that? I'm not good with any of this.
Narrative, but Brett Breaks Things will be back Monday to break it all down.